Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Rachel Vancelette. She's an art curator, creative technologist, and founder of Vancelette Global Art Acquisitions. And we learn from her about how art, fashion, and technology together build resilient communities and promote mental wellness. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's nice to see you.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Rachel. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about creativity, we'll talk about connection, and we'll talk about how this create impact. We'll talk about all this, but before that, let's talk about a bit about your story, your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction. My name is Rachel Vancelette. I'm the founder of Vancelette Global Art Acquisitions, creative agency. We work among fashion, tech, and art for a number of years. I've been an industry member in the art industry for a number of years. I've worked for major galleries, worked with fashion designers. I also have been a contributor since 2010 to Vogue Italia. So my main goals in life are really to create community, create connectivity, and to help support creatives as they move through their journey. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what I do.
Absolutely, absolutely, Rachel. So for a common person's understanding, means how should they understand what is Rachel trying to do? I've explained it in my own words, but yes, I would not be as successful as you would be. From a common person's perspective, what is it that you are trying to do? Because you talk about art, you talk about fashion, you talk about technology. People have heard about all these three things, but separately. How do you put them together and bring that difference, make that impact?
Well, I think when we think about art and we think about technology and we think about creativity in general, I run a company also called INTROXPERT that supports over about 40 different categories of creatives. And so when we think about the world today, we really want to think about the ideas that these are things that help us in our mental health and our daily lives. And so my goal is really to create collaborations among these creative individuals. Top masters in their fields, from chefs to creative artists, to people who are just simply like working in the wellness and health community. So when we think about these things, they create a very big impact in our day. And so when we're moving through the world, my real goals in life have been, and my motivation have been, to support creatives to continue to create. And that creative ability helps impact community. And it impacts your daily commute to work. It impacts how you interact with public artwork and public space. So, even though we're living our lives in a very fast-paced environment, I've really come to understand that art and also fashion can impact your mental health and endorphins and different kinds of ways to your ability to really kind of enjoy your day. Happiness is a key thing that we all want to move towards, but how do you move towards it? So some of my goals are about putting people together in rooms for collaborations, but also allowing people that maybe aren't part of that world and that community to really understand the natures of how we connect. Technology is kind of sometimes seen as a positive thing and oftentimes is seen as a negative thing, but it's also the thing that keeps us connected together. That's why I can come to you, visit India, and I'm sitting in a different place in the world. And so that's really an important key for our voices to be heard and for creatives to still feel like they have a voice in the world. So for me, and when I say creative, I mean people who create things that, come into the world. So if you're thinking about culinary, you're thinking about what you're eating at a restaurant. I mean, that's coming from a chef in the back room. So these are things that we lose touch points, and we really want to, continue that idea that these things continue to flow as us as humans, and also people who are in the creative field. I've just written a book called Own Your Own Worth, which is a book that's about helping creatives understand their own worth in the world, and that they aren't just starving artists, that they're people that are actually really important to our cultural makeup, and the future. So that's really important to me. If that answers your question, I hope.
Absolutely. So now let's understand it through your platforms. One is the Vancelette Global Art Acquisitions. What do you do in here? And then we'll come to INTROXPERT.
Okay. Well, Vancelette Global Art Acquisitions, as a creative agency, we've worked with a number of creatives through almost 30 different countries. We've built platforms before. We did a very large project during the pandemic called Arts and Puzzles and worked with almost 180 artists, including a couple from India, who created beautiful editions of jigsaw puzzles to also help your mental health and bring art into homes during the pandemic. So these are projects that are really important to Vancelette Global Art Acquisition, but we also work with high-end collectors and collections to place artwork, to create new environments for them. For that, it's been a long-term work that I've been in since I've worked as senior director at Barbara Gladstone Gallery and Yvonne Lambert Gallery, which are very large galleries internationally. And so these are really important keys. So the agency itself is also diving into different collaborations. For instance, I'm wearing one that was done with a hairstylist and a creative who owns Wonderland Salon. You Are Beautiful is a really key marker for his creative process. And so he's also an artist, but also a hairstylist, but also has a beautiful poster on the High Line in New York that says "You Are Beautiful." And this is an addition. This is fashion, but this is also art. So I wore this today to kind of exemplify how when we think about certain things in category, they're not always what you expect. You might be wondering why I'm wearing this, but this is an edition of 20. It is a beautiful, comfortable, cozy edition, but it's really done by a really powerful creative human who also has been in vogue. He's done hairstyles for major campaigns like Kusama. And but he's also creating these beautiful items to remind everybody that you're beautiful. So there's messages embedded in everything we do. So with the company, back to the company, we really want to instill this idea that collaborations between art and fashion are still really important, and that they can continue to trend. And so we've done capsule collections with artists, and we've worked with jewelry designers, we've worked with contemporary artists. And we really want to make sure that their marketing and their packaging is in a place where a global audience, such as people in India or other places in the world, can understand what their message is. So,
right. So how can a common person on the ground artist connect with your company and work with you, or is it only some sort of an exclusivity there?
No, I've really opened it up. We're now doing coaching sessions, so people can book coaching sessions from ground up. So any type of artist can book my time. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and I've had a lot of people come to me and want advice or want an hourly structure of how they can move their practice into a business, how they can actually be able to sell their artwork. Maybe they're struggling just being isolated alone and they need to meet other people in a community or a network. And so that's some of the work that I'm doing now. So we're opening up coaching sessions. Friends of mine in California were like, "You need to become an art coach." And I thought, well, why not? Let's try it, see how it goes. So people can book an hourly, they can book up to 6-month sessions if they want, to kind of get an insider view. For me, I've been working at the top end of the industry for many years. I've worked with really great artists. Anish Kapoor being one of your main artists in India. So these are people that I've had touchstones with and touch points with during my career. And so for that, I really feel like I carry some knowledge that I can pass on to a younger generation that's really trying to navigate a new art world. Now that we have social media, now that we think about different ways of selling that are really unlike 10 years ago, where the traditional art world was more just you have a gallery and just you sell. So I think there's a lot more entrepreneurial avenues that creative artists, fashion designers can use to really increase their voice and become, much larger brands and much larger artistic voices, So internationally, I think we're breaking borders now. So.
Absolutely. And in terms of the challenges, do you think those challenges, the shackle of those challenges are breaking, or do you think artists is now facing newer challenges more challenges in today's time, and those needs to be, to be addressed in today's time. What is your take on this?
Well, that question just knocked my screen over. Well, I think really it is a challenging period, but I also think there needs to be tools in place. And so I think when we come to think about artists, I mean, they are a business of their own. So you're building your own business, you're selling your work, you're pricing it, you're thinking about these different ideas, you're creating it. And sometimes it's very difficult because if we look at the right and left brain connection and how creatives are working from a certain point of view, sometimes the business component isn't, the easiest part for them. And so that's why gallerists come in, that's why art advisors come in, that's why, different people come in to kind of help motivate them, organize them. So I think, if you're really, it depends on where you are in your art. I work with people who also just want to create and find ways to go to community and just go and do a pottery class or find a way to find some meditation in their life. There's different ways of thinking about of how, the creativity component is. But if we're really thinking about the business component of it, you really have to navigate a lot of things now with social media, with all the different platforms, TikTok, all these different things. Are they important? Is that important to your practice? Is that something that's important to you? So each individual is different. And so your goals might be, I just want a gallery and I think that's the only way to go. Well, let's think openly. Let's think differently. Maybe touch point with your local community, find out about the local art centers, teach a class. Why we started INTROXPERT was really about people being able to connect with that person directly, because there might be a 16-year-old artist that, she's an artist and she's wanting to follow that career, and she could talk to somebody that's already been down the road. So I think education, information is really important in this day and age. And with the advent of AI, I think we can use it as a tool, but we still need the human, there still has to be a human connection. If I'm going to carve carve stone and just know how to carve a hand in stone, and I want to learn that, that's a tradition that's carried down quite dramatically and over multiple generations in Italy. How do I find that person to teach me that tool so we continue to carry these on generationally? Because technology can go so far, but we also have the human hand. So it's really important.
Right. So in terms of, monetization of whatever creativity that artists are doing, do you think these times are the best of times or not so good times for artists? Because their art may be bringing, wellness to others, but what about wellness to themselves and their peace of mind, as well as some wellness to their wallets? How do you want them to see it?
Well, I think it's been interesting because I've seen a commercialization of a lot of artists and how they use commercialization to create different products and different ideas for them to sell. For instance, a cup, but we're talking about a sweatshirt right now, but maybe there's a painting that also sells. So I think you always have to consider yourself giving a product or an idea or an object to somebody. And if you are doing that, they should be giving you a percentage back no matter what. Like, they should be giving you a percentage back of the sale. If they're your sales agent, they should be giving you a percentage back. I know there's a lot of talk in the world that there's too many artists, there's too many things, but I think everyone has their avenue of understanding where their work belongs. If you're thinking about creating something, whatever that is, fashion line, whatever, know your audience, know who are the people that are going to respond to you, who are going to be your core audience, who are going to support you. And then, people will follow. So, I mean, we know this, like, we historically know this, we know this from how social media works. One person buys, another person buys, then, so, and then there's the anomalies. So I think, financially, you have to think about the fact, I mean, you don't go to a hairstylist and say, cut my hair for free. You don't do it. You just don't do it. Like, my hair's long, I need a haircut now. I don't go to my hairstylist and say, well, just do this for free. And a lot of what happens in the creative economy is a lot of people expect that to be free. Give me a piece of art and I'll help you out. There's this kind of old school trade that kind of happens. And so the reason I wrote a book called Own Your Own Worth was, and I'm working on it now, is also to empower artists to be able to say, I am worth this. I need to price my work at this price point and I'm worth it. I can ask for that price and I'm worth it. If you think about the things that took you to get that creation done, let's say we're building it, making a dress. You have to pay for the fabric. You got to pay for the time. Your hours are worth something. And so you have to really think differently in the creative field because, there's this historical kind of thing that's happened, like the starving artist or, the artists don't know what they're doing and they can get taken advantage of. That's not true. Every human can go out, learn, and figure out how to make a mechanism for that money to come back to them. And so I think it's really also about owning your own worth. Like, what is your artwork worth? How much did you put into it to create it? Because you're putting money into it no matter what you think. Like, it costs money to create the sweatshirt. It costs money to create a painting. It costs money to create, a dish, a beautiful plate of food. So these are things you don't go to a restaurant and say, give it to me for free either. So, when you start to think about objects or fashion or art, as an object on a wall or object in your home, there's time that's been spent behind that by somebody in their studio, in somebody in their home creating that object. So I think we have to think in those terms.
Right. So why don't people want to pay for, they want free all these creative things? I mean, how do you change that mindset, Rachel? Yeah, I guess it's everywhere in the world. Why don't they? They want to go to all those places, but they want it free. A piece of free piece of art certainly deserves a free, lot of peace of mind, a lot of peace of mind
Yeah.
that listen, something so that they can at least change that mindset.
Yeah, I think, it's also why I wrote the book. And I think it's really important that, it has to come from the person who's creating the piece. I think you have to say, this is my worth. And like, you need to pay me this $30 or $100 or $1,000. And, otherwise, come back to me when you have the money, like I'm really, you can't
Right.
just, if you do it once, then other people find that out and then they come behind and say, give me a piece of art. I know you gave it to my friend for free. You have to be very careful. You can give discounts. There is industry standard discounts. People do give, galleries do it for the museum institutions. They give discounts to, top collectors. You can say, I'll sell this to you. I understand you may not have the money now. Like, why don't you pay me in installments? Why don't I give you a 20% off? Why don't I give you 10% off? And then next time, if you buy second work, maybe I'll give you a deeper discount because you're a repeat client. There's things that you can do to navigate that conversation so that you're not in conflict with that person and continue to maintain that relationship. So, industry standards behind the closed doors have always been this way. There's discounts given to museums for the acquisitions. There's discounts given to top collectors who repeat buy. So you have to think about these things in your own studio practice. No matter if you're on the street and you're selling your work, you got to think about those people coming to you and saying, I'll buy it to you for $5, and you barter. There's a barter system. We all know it very well. But at some level, you have to say, well, this is my final price, and I'll give you this discount. If you want to buy two or more, I can give you, these are things you can navigate. And those kind of tools I'm hoping to provide in this book that I'm writing, to say, as just kind of a flip book that you can look through to kind of remind yourself to practice these tools. Sometimes remind yourself. You can practice, record yourself, or practice your conversation about what your work is about. Because when it does come to an important person, if you freeze up, they're going to walk right by you. So I've seen it in my own career. I've seen great artists, top artists do it. They can't even talk about their work and they just a freeze frame. So that continuous practice is really important. Record yourself, stand in front of your dog, stand in front of a friend and say, I'm going to practice this with you, because if this person comes to me and I'm selling their work, how do I, it's practice. Doesn't come naturally to people. It's not something that, everybody's good at. Some people are really great at going out and searching for funding. Some people aren't. So it's, and sales are a very different thing. So.
Absolutely. And for creative people, asking for money, because it's the way they are. It becomes a bit difficult for them to market their product and market themselves. Be that as it may, what is your vision for with these two organization of yours? VGAA and INTROXPERT. What is it that you want to do with this in the future?
Well, right now we're in funding rounds for INTROXPERT. We have about 200 experts on board for INTROXPERT, which is where people can book time with different individuals in the creative arts, from anyone from a top fashion person to a top chef that might be on television. They can book the time. And then it also gives those creatives time for, earn money for their time to support their studios. So the creative economy, often, like we're speaking of, people don't want to spend money for your time. They don't want to spend money for your art. So how do we create these economies that really represent creativity as an important key. A lawyer gets paid an hourly wage. Why can't an artist that's teaching you something be paid an hourly wage? These are things that I'm hoping in my lifetime I'm able to create an environment where these things are, I feel like it's almost my mission, but that they're more of a standard. And so with INTROXPERT, we're really lucky because we had Times Square grant us a beautiful billboard in February where we supported creatives and we put them on the billboard to celebrate them. And they were next to Coca-Cola and they were next to Beyonce. And then we have these beautiful creative people who, are top in their industry. I mean, top music experts, top chefs, top artists, top wellness specialists that were put on this billboard in Times Square to celebrate them and let other people know these people are really important and they're making change culturally as well as internationally with their current work. And so those are the things that I'm hoping that my companies, both of them, continue to do to elevate, educate and continue that process. So for me, that's important. And I know we can speak about education all day because technology has AI and we have these beautiful tools now, but I still think from the human experience, I lived a different experience than you did, and your stories are going to tell me something, maybe one thing that I can learn and walk away with. And to me, that's incredibly valuable. So those are the things that I'm hoping, come from what I'm building. And also, to build community. I think we are a bit fractured, in international terms. I think it's really important that we still learn through art about each other. And I think that's a great way to learn about one another, the stories that are told, the history that are told by people. It gives an avenue and a pathway. That's why we all go to museums and we go to galleries to learn about somebody else's story or be impacted by their work. And so those things can't be just, they're unspoken, so I'm hoping that continues through the work that I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much to learn about all this that you are doing. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you in both your platforms. What's the best way for them to do so, Rachel?
You can find me on my Instagram at Vancelette. It's VANCELETTE at Instagram, or you can find us at INTROXPERT, which is it's intro and then XPERT 9, and you can find us at the websites to drop us a DM. I mean, drop a message, and then also you can find there'll be some opening bookings for art coaching coming up this next month. So book, you can take a 15-minute session for free, and then you can come and decide if you want to book a longer session. So those are going to be opening up on our website, and it's www.vancelette.com. You can come find us and drop us a line. And that's kind of what we're up to. So
wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Say hello to everybody for me in India. Have a great day.